I'm Juan. I'm from Guanacaste, live in Osara. I'm a private chef, business, restaurant consulting, cook pretty much everything you want. Well, my name is Juan Pablo Berrocal. I grew up in Liberia. I moved to Nosara about 5 years. Not really sure. I've been cooking for 16 years. I've done everything there is to do in a restaurant, from waiter to cleaning mussels every day, proficient bartender. Of course, the kitchen is my forte, so anything there is to do in a kitchen. I moved to Nosara to open Selena. I ran the restaurant and events for the hotel for better part of 2 years, I think.
You left Liberia to come to...
Yes, well, I was actually living in Playa Potrero.
Mm-hmm.
I was executive chef at Las Catalinas.
Oh, very nice.
Worked there for almost also 2 years. I actually cooked for the owners of Selena, or for one of the biggest stockholders. They stole me and another friend from Catalinas, and we moved to Nosara. He actually went to run the other restaurant in Jacob, and I took the one in Nosara because I'm from here, from Guanacaste.
So your family in Nosara?
No, in Liberia.
In Liberia.
Yeah.
So when you came to Nosara, how did you feel? Was it a huge change for you? Like, Las Catalinas is a beautiful area, so you've got to be in two gorgeous parts of the country.
Yeah, I've been blessed like that growing up in Guanacaste. We get spoiled with the sceneries. Like, I am one of those that complains that the monkeys are too loud. It wasn't as much as a change as I thought it would be. I've always lived near the ocean or on the beach. Nosara is a lot more yoga-y and more wellness focused than Las Catalinas, but it's pretty much almost the same feeling. More surfy here than it is there. Mm-hmm. More quiet, which is better.
Yeah. With Nosara, how long ago was that? You've probably seen a huge change in the amount of people.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it only just got faster with the pandemic.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, instead of slowing down, everything just got sped up.
How did that affect your cooking? How did that affect the way you do business?
Well, it didn't affect my cooking. It just gave me more work. Private chefs are always in demand. I am very proud of being Guanacastecan, so I put a lot of my recipes into what I serve. 2 days ago, I was cooking a very traditional recipe. It's called gallina criolla. I made it with chicken because laying hen can be a little tough.
Yeah.
For people who are not used to, they will find it super tough.
So you said you're classically French trained.
Yes, but I'm proud, and the little we have, I still think needs to be portrayed. Especially people come to Nosara and they don't even know what's the whole background of Guanacaste, how life in a cattle ranch, or the close link to cattle and horses and the life in a farm, made our culture. Even our songs and our poetry have a lot of horse and cattle, and a lot of our food is the same way. It's for example, cooking a laying hen, which means that the hen is no longer able to do eggs. Mm-hmm. It goes in the pot. All that has such a big load of forming what that Guanacastecan culture is, and people come to Nosara or most places in Guanacaste and don't even realize what you're eating. Like tortillas. Tortillas is not only because it's made of corn, but beans, tortillas, and ayote. That's Mayan agriculture. That thing is millennia old. The three daughters, as they call them, the corn provided structure for the beans to grow. The extension of the ayote plant, which is a squash, doesn't allow for more weeds to grow. So it's just to be beneficial to each other.
Yeah, like symbiosis. Yeah.
Symbiosis,
yeah.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. That is exactly what you are eating, what we are serving because of that. It's that link. So I try to portray that in an Instagrammable way. Mm-hmm. Being a proud cook, I grew up in a farm, so I'm also a son of the land. I know how to grow my own things, and it's my little token of appreciation to this land, and the little I can share to the little people who are willing to listen, and that's what I do.
So it's your heritage.
I always say that if it wasn't for Guanacaste and Limon, which is the other province in the Caribbean, Costa Rica will not have any sort of culture. I'm a proud son, and I will always say, before anything else, I'm from Guanacaste.
So we've gotten to get to know how important your heritage and your culture is for you.
If anything, the pandemic did, people realized how vulnerable we are. So I think that that's a very positive thing that the pandemic gave us. Among the projects that I'm involved with, Conocer, we do cultural immersion experiences. Conocer, Conocer, means to know or to meet. We spell it with an S, which also means to be. This is actually a project I just recently jumped in. A friend, expat that lives here, started it. But we do basically this that I'm been saying, hands-on. So we take them to a farm and we teach them. We milk cows, we make cheese, we make tortillas, crush sugar cane. People drink the juice. We take them horseback riding. We teach them why do we plant this specific grass, why corrals are like that. Every activity here is mandated by nature. It's not the other way around. So we grow the grasses we grow because this is what grows here. We have the breeds of cattle we have because this is what sustain the drought, the heat, the rain. Eventually, we trickle it down into what became our culture, as I was saying before. In this, it's the more raw form of having a tortilla and cuajada, which is a very basic cheese. And then with my cooking, I just compress that into a fancy capsule of little tidbits of everything I've been saying without the whole explanation, because that sometimes when people are willing to listen, you can talk everything you want, but sometimes I try to keep it a lot more small capsules of knowledge linked to the food.
Craig and I have always felt that to really understand a culture, you go to the heart of it, and which is usually food. And it's something that we really value about a society anywhere that we travel as well. This is a really exciting venture for you then. So this is really different than the world of just being in a restaurant. And so is this what you're planning on doing? Is this your future? Is this your next step?
Yes, within this finca that we are developing, I want to have test kitchen venue. So first of all, I want to teach people like you can do a perfectly 5-star meal with super humble ingredients. Squash, that is ours and grows everywhere. You can feed your pigs to it. You can feed the sprouts to the chickens. You can even bread the flowers and eat them yourself. There's everything in plant of squash is edible. The stalk, for lack of a better word, we call it sopa de guia. It's like literally the guias are like the branches of the plant.
Stems, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I want to go, and also have kitchen soapbox for all the fellow cooks that never have the chance to host their own vision of cooking. I had the chance to go and study abroad, so I've landed a bunch of chef jobs, but normally Costa Ricans, we are stuck to being cooks and cooks forever. Great cooks, super professional cooks, but cooks nonetheless. Chefs always, the majority will say, that come from outside. I want to provide a space for them to actually showcase what they feel is their own vision, their own cooking, and also make an extra buck, you know? It is a dream come true. It is certainly not one of my first dreams. It's just been, you grow over time, you change, you learn, you learn to want new things. This is certainly a result of my professional life as a cook, my life as a bit of an anarchist, trying to take from the man, living off the grid of sorts. It's impossible. I mean, it's not impossible, but I have friends and family that I would love to keep seeing, so I have to stay within the social contract to reach Jean-Jacques Rousseau. But if I can grow my own food or the 90% of it or grow something and then barter with my neighbor and take the government out and big corporations out and just eating local, eating fresh, eating seasonal. Even though we have like super dry hot and then super rainy seasons, there's still fruits to be foraged in both seasons that are delicious. Right now, jocotes are about to, well, they're already in season. Needs a couple more weeks to actually go. But jocotes are so delicious. All the stages of ripening are good. There's so much more to be done with them. We do something as jocota, which you just boil them with syrup, and it's super good. But there's a lot to do with all our fruits, and it just don't happen. Like mangoes here go to waste, and then you see them with a hefty price tag out of Costa Rica. You can do moonshine with them. You can do jelly. You can do ceviche. You can do anything you could think of, and it's so readily available. It's always just getting rotten in the floor.
It's interesting. It sounds like your dream, when we were talking about French cooking and deconstructing, that's literally what you're going to be doing, is deconstructing and then rebuilding right in front of people's eyes. It's quite exciting.
The new is actually 200 years old. So coming with refrigeration and everything, we stopped pickling and we stopped fermenting, and that's another positive thing with what we were talking about with the pandemic. This sourdough bread that is the latest trend in Instagram and TikTok and whatever thing kids are doing these days. Sourdough bread was the norm 70 years ago before commercial yeast were readily available. Now it's like, boom, $20 for a loaf of bread. And kimchi, kimchi just exploded. Thanks a lot, Roy Choi in LA and a lot of great other cooks that I'm not mentioning. But it's a ferment with nutrients and probiotics that are good for your gut. And now it's seen as the response to all these foodborne illnesses, where it's not a response, we just stop doing it because now we have sodium benzoate and now we have C-134-7, whatever weird molecule you want to use. Even on my cheese, I use kefir. Kefir is as old as milk. I don't do commercial culture. I do my own. Quoting David Asher, I keep all my cultures in my counter. It's my counter culture.
I love that.
Great jokes. I'm awesome at parties. So that's what I'm saying. My new is going back to where we were, because that was the good old day when it came to food. You actually value what you can. Yes, A5 Miyazaki Kobe beef is delicious, but it has a huge carbon footprint because it's coming all the way from Japan. When we can have good grass-fed local, yes, it's gonna be a bit more tough than your actual steakhouse, Norton or whatever you wanna call, but it's here, it's grown somewhat sustainably, being beef, which is of course super inefficient. That's another discussion. But my point is, why would we price something else? We will value something that we don't produce when we can have something as good, or if not as good taste wise, because we already preset, but with a lot of other benefits, like no carbon footprint. So that's exactly what I want to do, and I want to do it with my food. I want to do it with what we produce, and also teach the other side of Nosara to Nosarans. And there is no memory that you will ever forget when it's linked to food.
We've heard that from a few chefs now and cooks around Nosara about having this community of cooks working together to really hold that history and culture in the food and have it shine in different ways depending on how you cook. So that's quite exciting. That sounds really, really interesting. So do you have a website or anything how would someone be able to find you and be able to do this experience?
Well, for Conocer, we have one. It's conocercr.org. Then I'm on social media as El Juan Cocinero. The other venue of the finca is still being developed. I just very, very recently, I think last week, I brought my animals here, goats, sheep, pigs, chickens, still building the holding pens and the corrals to have them here. in the long run. So that project is called Finca Combachu. I started with the cheese that I already do, but it was just to get the ball rolling on it, the venue and everything. I hope a year from now. Conocer is readily happening anytime. It's just a couple of phone calls of me setting up the logistics, and then that's it. And my private chef is also one phone call away.
Do you think this is the future?
The future is 200 years ago,
Yeah. I like that.
and that's what I'm doing.
Love it. Thank you so much. This has been really, really enlightening. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I want to spend some time on your farm. That's my next goal.
Yeah, sure, no, my
I think
pleasure.
that's